So let's go to the full summary of the next chapter of One Piece. Ready? Let's do it. Right after the intro. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel, and well, before anything else, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss any new videos. And without further ado, let's get to the video. This chapter has 17 pages, 2 color pages from the color spread, and 15 normal black and white pages. Chapter 1155 is titled Rock's Pirates. Color spread on the cover. The Straw Hat crew is walking on a wooden ladder to cross from one building to another in a city. The chapter begins where the last one ended. Loki told Rox they are in Elbaf, but also said his father was out on an expedition. Loki was very surprised because it was the first time he had seen small people. Rox asked Loki his name. Then Rox demanded that Loki go home to call his father so he could treat his wounds. Loki refused and attacked him, but Rox used his sword to counterattack. Loki says, "What makes you think my dad is going to come back for something like my injuries? And how dare you order me around? You look like a weakling." Narrator says, "Sword attacks are known for sending the surrounding objects flying as if it were the impact of a giant hammer or a cannon blast." Rox says, "Vohaha! Oh no. Look, Loki is gravely injured." A flashback about the leveling that took place 8 years ago begins. Soldiers at the Pangaea castle reported that 5 kings had been attacked and kidnapped by a large man dressed in black. Then we see Emu in the room of flowers. Emu says, "The lives of mere kings cannot be used as bargaining chips against Mu." Rox says, "I thought as much, but the Holy Land is a mess now." Suddenly, we see that Rox was sitting on the floor near Emu with a pistol in his hand. We also see a female servant kneeling beside Emu who looks like Gunko. She wore something similar to a nun habit with a mask over her mouth. Aimu stared at Rox while a very furious Rox threatened him. Narrator says, "Unlike anything before, and for the first time, someone had managed to get into the deepest part of the Holy Land, into the Room of Flowers." The man revealed himself as an admirer of Davy Jones, and that was all he did. He knew what he couldn't do. But he left behind a few words. Rox says, "One day I will come back. Back here!" Rox found Harold in the city of Mary Geoise when both tried to escape. In an epic double-spread page, we see them attacking each other. The clash of their conquerors' haki was similar to Roger versus Whitebeard or Luffy versus Kaido. Their swords didn't touch. The narrator explains that the clash of those two strangers wiped out everyone within a 5-kilometer radius. They both introduced themselves while fighting. After the short clash, they escaped together. Harold asked Rox which way was Elbaf because he was lost, lol. Rox told Harold that if they both survived, they should meet again, but Harold told Rox he would never get involved with a villain again. Then Harold jumped from the red line and Rox was shocked to see how crazy Harold was, lol. The narrator explains that despite emergency treatment, the admiral that Rox attacked in Mary Geoise finally died. So the world government put a high bounty on his head. We see Rox's wanted poster, but we can't see his bounty. Sometime later, Rox attacked a ship that was carrying the heavenly tribute to Mary Geoise, and he even destroyed a Gate of Justice to escape. With the money and ship in hand, Rox kicked off his pirate career. During the following years, pirate ships were Rox's new targets. He played some Davy backfight games to get new crewmates. However, Rox had not officially formed his pirate crew yet. They were just a gang of villains following Rox. Back to the present of the flashback 48 years ago. In another amazing double-spread page, we see that Rox and his 6 crewmates were eating in Orist Castle with Harold and Loki. Loki was lying in a bed with bandages all over his body. Harold quickly returned from the expedition when he heard Loki was injured. Although Loki was almost fully healed already, Harold asked him not to go again to the underworld. Loki was very happy to see his father came back for him. Rox wanted Harold to join him because he knew the world government ignored all of Harold's requests, but Harold refused, saying he would lose all the trust he had earned from other nations. Then, Harold asked Rox's crewmates why they were following that man. Shiki says, "Follow this idiot." "Who?" "Jihaha. Don't make me laugh. We are on our own. Even if Rox drops dead, it won't make a difference." Shiki the Yakuza, later known as the Golden Lion. Stussy says, exactly. But there is something about his plan. Smells like a brilliant opportunity to get rich. Misbucking the science robber. Bucking Stussy. Marlon says, have you heard of Hachinosu, the island of exile? Also known as Pirate Island. It's the island where countries used to relocate ruthless criminals that their own prisons couldn't handle. Don Marlon, the gangster from West Blue, Newgate says, it was supposed to be an uninhabited island without food or where you just wait for your certain death. Edward Newgate, the pirate, later known as Whitebeard. Wang Ji says, but in recent years, these criminals are surviving and forming their own organizations. What do you think is the reason? Wang Ji Ochoku, the pirate guru, the pirate island. Ganzui says, there were gold veins under that island. Some underground organization caught wind of it and gave the criminals a little help to become filthy rich. Ganzui, the smuggler. Ganzui was the huge guy wearing full armor that we saw in God Valley and one of Moria's zombies in Thriller Bark. Don Marlon is a gangster inspired by characters like Vito Corleone, maybe Beggy's father, and Wang Ji, Ochoku, is a guy who looks like Caribou and Koribu. Maybe he's their father? Rox once again asked Harold to join him. Loki got out of bed and secretly listened to Rox and Harold's conversation. Loki cried with emotion when he heard Rox's words. Rox says, come with me, Harold. You and I together, we will be unstoppable. Harold says, stop that. I am the king of a nation. Rox says, that doesn't matter. Let's take the world. Loki says, the world. Narrator says later, Loki realized he had been saved. On the final page of the chapter, we see several ships approaching Hachinosu as the narrator talks about what happened 4 years later, 44 years before the present time. Narrator says, 4 years have passed since then, with Harold turning down Rox's invitation every single time he offered it. And finally, Rox's plan with an elite group of people who agree with him is about to be executed. Rox says, let's go, boys. The chapter ends with the flag of the Rox pirates waving for the first time. End of chapter. Break next week. That's it, folks. This was the full summary of this chapter, which served as the introduction of the Rox pirates. This Thursday, I'll bring you the narrated version. Next week, I should be back with One Piece content on the main channel, but I'll let you all know, all right? Keep an eye on both channels. If you enjoyed the video, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell. See you next time, and thanks.